Yesterday, my sister and I had an encounter on the train that reminded me so much of the dysfunction I run into with Negro males on social media. Now, yesterday, my sister and I, we were on the train. We were talking about the NBA Finals, and we were discussing, what excuses LeBron James is going to make regarding his failure to win another championship. And while we were having this discussion, one of these individuals decided to chime in. And while he was chiming in, he was getting more and more butthurt regarding LeBron James. Now, mind you, I live in New York, so the only people who should really be getting upset about LeBron James are people in Cleveland. But this individual decided to get upset, regarding me having an opinion about LeBron James and his dysfunctional and spoiled rotten behavior. And he was getting all upset and emotional because I said that LeBron James was basically a Burger King and that the people had elevated him to a pedestal status that he was not, ready for. And this was my opinion regarding LeBron James. And also, my opinion regarding LeBron James is that, I believe he's an overrated player, but, I'm entitled to my opinion. But this guy, he's getting upset, he's getting emotional, he's taking it personal, like he's LeBron James. And he's like, well, LeBron James didn't have any support. And it's like I sat there and I said to myself, what were Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami last year? You had two of the best players in the NBA who backed this man up. And what did LeBron James do? He threw them right up under the bus and walked out on them and decided to take his ball and head back to Cleveland so he could be, the king in his own mind. And I looked at that behavior and I saw the same type of spoiled rotten behavior I see from these males out here who come from these female headed households. And I saw also the same type of behavior I saw being expressed on that subway train. I mean, somebody presents an opinion regarding LeBron James, and you're getting upset and emotional about it. Instead of just saying, "Hey, that's that guy's opinion," I'm just not going to get into it with him. He's a complete stranger. I don't know this guy from Mike, and I'm just going to let this guy have his opinion and move on. Now, I have heard people, they express their opinions regarding things that I liked and characters that I liked, and I just, I sucked it up and moved on. I said, that's his opinion. He's entitled to his opinion, and I'm going to move on. But with this case, you run into these people, and they get upset, they get butthurt when they hear a difference of opinion. They hear a different set of views. Now, my sister and I, had gone out earlier to a laundromat to wash some clothes, and we had the same conversation before, and there was no problem. There were a whole bunch of Hispanic women there, and they didn't care, and they just took it and moved on again. But your males, they don't understand. We live in a world where people have differences of opinion, different views, and they don't get emotional. And they don't take it personal. And the sad part is, I look at many of our males, and they're just not ready for manhood. And this was an example sitting right in front of me, you know, proving to me all of the points that I have seen, regarding manhood and presented to me. I deal with differences of opinion every day in my life. I mean, I can talk about how I got a one-star review recently for ISIS Night of the Vampires that I personally believed it wasn't fair, but I had to take it and move on. Now, I put up a comment on it on Facebook, saying that it was a spam review because basically it was just a one sentence with 4 words, but really I just had to take it and move on. And what I did was I tried to turn a positive into a negative last week by taking this book and promoting it on Kindle for free in order to turn a negative into a positive and try to get readers to see how great a story this is. But when I deal with people, on the street like that, it just disturbs me that somebody would just get emotional and get personal over a basketball game that, one, is not going to make either of us any money, and two, does not matter in the larger scheme of things. I look at at the National Basketball Association, and I could care less about LeBron James or any of these other basketball players. For me, it's like this. These guys, they're going to make millions of dollars no matter what I say or what I do. None of these guys are going to ever even think about buying any of these books here. So what concern do I have regarding a LeBron James? Now, this was my opinion regarding him. This is my opinion based on my observations of him. And I looked at his behavior from last year when he lost in the NBA Finals with the Miami Heat. And I sat there and I said to myself, who is he going to blame now? And this is what, the big problem with LeBron James was for me is that he never takes any responsibility for any of his actions. I mean, I can go back, to something that David Carroll said in one of his videos about football players and basketball players. You know, he says that you're supposed to look out for the other player, and if you make a mistake, it's on you. Now, I know that from personal experience because I've published many books like the Cassandra Cookbook back in 2008, and the book had a whole lot of errors in it, and I couldn't get upset with anyone because, again, the editing responsibility was mine. And I had to go back and try to retool the book, and that's why I had to relaunch it as the book A Recipe for Success because I had to take responsibility for the mistakes that I made. But when we look at your LeBron James, I don't see LeBron James taking responsibility for anything. What he did last year was instead of saying, we messed up, we need to regroup, he ran away. He left the Miami Heat, and then he ran over to Cleveland. He ran back home to mommy, as I saw it. And now that he's back home, who is he going to blame now? I mean, what I heard from this individual in training was he saying he didn't have any support, and I looked at it and I say to myself, he had the support of two of the best players in the NBA last year. This year, you know, what's the problem? I mean, when is it going to be him? When is it on us going to be on your LeBron James? This is the problem with many of your Negro males. They never, ever want to take responsibility for anything. I mean, everything is always somebody else's fault. And this is the behavior that oftentimes is enabled in them by their single mothers and many of these white female teachers and many of the females in their community. They just sit there and they enable this behavior. And this is why these boys never get up to do anything of value or, really make any efforts to push themselves to the next level. Because I look at LeBron James and I see what happens when you have a boy raised in a single mother household and what happens when you have a boy who was never, raised properly. I mean, personally, I always believe that he and Kobe Bryant would have been better players if they had gone to a college and learned under a coach because a coach would have broken all of those dysfunctional behaviors out of them. Because I see that, diva-esque behavior in LeBron James, and I also saw it in Kobe Bryant. And this diva-esque behavior prevents them from being able to play on a team effectively. Basically, when they play basketball, they play like individuals and they don't think about the group. And everything is about them and not about the needs of the other players or looking out for other members of the team. They always think about everything as it based on them. They never think about how their role relates to the overall team. And this is one of the big problems I always had, with a lot of these new players, especially the ones that come from these single mother households. They don't know how to play as teams. And when I watch their basketball and I compare it to basketball that I've seen in the 1980s and the 1990s when there were fathers in the home and you had guys like Michael Jordan came from homes with fathers in them, the way they played is completely different. They played, more of a group, whereas these guys from these single mother households, they're just like there's a group of them together, but they're all playing as individuals and they're all playing their own game, and they're not playing a game as a team. And this is something that I see with guys who come from a lot of single mother households. I even saw it when I was working at the Stripe program. They just don't know how to work together. They just don't know how to work as a group, and they don't know how to just say, "Hey, look, I'm going to do my part," or they don't even know how to follow through. And I look at this LeBron James and I look at that situation. I said, this guy was just getting upset and emotional, just like a female, over an opinion. And instead of just sucking it up and moving on, and saying, look, that's his opinion, I'm just going to move on. This guy's a stranger on the train. It's not worth me getting into it with him over an opinion over a basketball game where I'm not going to get a single dime of LeBron James's money for anything else that's related to him. He gets upset and emotional, and luckily for me, thank God, me and my sister, our stop came up, and we were able to just leave and just move on. What we did was we just agreed with him and moved on. Agreed to just in our way, agreed to disagree, so we could just move on. But it just jarred me, how upset people get regarding things that really have no value. Now, if these people, if Negroes and people like this had the same passion and fervor, you know, about your public schools or, you know, issues that were really significant and important in their own communities, maybe we could get something done in our communities that would be quite productive. Because I look at, your public schools, and this is the type of behavior that's being enabled by your white female teachers and your white female and your white single mothers. I'm not white single mothers, but excuse me there, but by your white female teachers and your single mothers. This is the type of behavior you're enabling in boys. The inability to navigate through their emotions, the inability to, agree to disagree, inability to hear and not hear, and the inability to suck it up and move on. And when I look at situations like this, you have to try to if you know better, you have to try to diffuse them so that you can get where you're going. And this is something that many of your Negro males and your Hispanic males just don't understand. And I always, again, look at it this way: none of these guys are going to give me any money. Again, none of these guys are going to buy any of these books behind me, and none of these guys in the NBA are any concern for me. I don't worry about them. The only thing I'm worried about is myself, my relationship with God, and trying to move my own life forward. I could care less, about any of these basketball players. In the next 5 years, I doubt we'll hear anything about them in the larger scheme of things. And my goal is to build this SJS Direct imprint into something positive and move myself and move this brand forward. Um, but again, it was just one of those disturbing things to me. And I just sit there and I said to myself, it's a clear example of what I saw on YouTube regarding black men presented right to me on a D train yesterday. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.